So how I started sewing, my first sewing project was when I was 11 years old, and my mom was a teacher at Box Elder High School, and she started sewing ribbon shirts, and she was like, "You're gonna help me sew these ribbon shirts for her class," and I was like, "Okay," and then my mom, like I said, she was really taught old school and traditional. And so she was taught by my grandma and my great grandma. And they didn't really have sewing notions when my mom was younger, because they didn't have much money. So they didn't have sewing notions. And I don't even know if they even sold sewing notions or what. But so how my mom taught me at 11 years old, and that's why I didn't really stick to sewing in my teenage years, is because like, my mom, it would be like, okay, like, like the shoulder, like for neck to shoulder, like for making a ribbon shirt, it's this much. She would have a piece of string, and then she'd be like, okay, Rebekah, it's this much. So, so you have to measure it this much. And then, me, like 11-year-old Rebekah, I'm like looking at it like, okay, like, like measuring it, like, okay, it's this much and stuff, and cutting it out and everything. And I just didn't take to it. I actually hated it. Like, I didn't like it because, like I said, my mom was old school and she didn't have sewing notions. So how she taught me to sew was like that. And she didn't have patterns. She made all her own patterns. And so that's how I learned. And, I didn't take to it. So that's why I beaded, because I felt like beading, I could get my projects done faster, and I knew how to bead better. And then too, I did sew when I was little. I was sewing my Barbie's outfits. I'd like get Barbie and, and Skipper, and you'd be like, come on, girls, like we're gonna, we're gonna have a fashion show today. And then I'd make their outfits and then, braid their hair and stuff. And then so then to get into sewing, after I had my son, then I was like, okay, I have my son, and then I need to make him a dancing outfit. So then when I lived in Bismarck, I would call my mom, and I'd be on my mom for be on the phone with her for hours and be like, okay, walk me through this process again. And then my mom would be getting mad at me, like, I taught you this, you should have learned it. I'm like, I don't remember. So my mom, so that's how I got into sewing, was after having my son. Then I'm like, okay, I need to make my son stuff, and it was mainly for powwow dancing. And then too, in high school, like my mom was like, you want a dancing outfit, you want all this, you're old enough to make it yourself. So I was like, okay, and then so I would stay after school, and I would work with our home ec teacher, because we had sewing machines. And our home ec teacher, she was really nice, and she's like, yeah, I'll help you. And so she helped me make a couple of my dancing outfits too. So that was kind of like my introduction into sewing. And then also too, my high school, they offered 2 star quilt making classes. So I took those 2 star quilt making classes, just, to get into the groove of sewing and stuff. But if you haven't sewed before and you want to get into fashion design, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's YouTube channels. I know that has helped a lot of people get into sewing. And then too, I was contracted through the Phoenix Indian Center for the past 2 years, and I did online sewing. So I did it virtually, and I worked with a lot of people, and it was real cool because some of the classes were just specific to high schoolers, and then some were just specific to the young men, where they just sewed their own ribbon shirts and stuff. So there's online classes out there like that. And then that too is like one of my accomplishments I make known is learning the art of teaching sewing, through social media, through Zoom and stuff. At first, the first couple of classes, I understand, where I wasn't, that where it was harder, but now I did it enough through COVID that I feel like I have a good, I'm confident in teaching over Zoom on how to sew. And then too, our local college, I was the business teacher at my local college, Stone Child College. And then I also was teaching ribbon skirt classes there too, and then moccasin making classes. So for me, I'm pretty open to teaching it, and that's how, I like taught a lot of students from all age groups, from high school to college to, in the Phoenix Indian Center. In those classes, I had, elders that took my class that learned how to sew, to make ribbon skirts and stuff. And so it doesn't really matter what age you are, if you want to learn, there's classes and there's opportunities out there. You just have to, find them. Like anything, anything that we want in life, you find it, you find that what you like in life. It just don't fall from the sky and fall in your lap. You go out there and you search it and you find it. So if you want to learn how to sew, you could go out there and you could find it. I'm pretty sure you'll come across a class. Usually the tribal colleges, they're really good at offering ribbon skirt classes. And then if you're in high school, get with the home ec teacher. I don't know if they still have home ec. I'm not sure. If that's still a thing in high school, but I feel like our high schools need to have sewing machines, and I feel like they need to have home ec classes, but you could get with, your local teachers there to see if they're willing to help, or if there's classes, or like I said, online classes, your local organizations, whatever state or town or city you're in, reach out to your local organizations to see if they have any sewing classes available. Joann's. When I lived in North Dakota, I took some sewing classes at Joann's, just because, like I said, I was taught without patterns. I was taught to make my own patterns. And so when I would go to Joann's, I'd buy like McCall patterns and Vogue patterns. And then I wouldn't know what to do with them because I wasn't taught that way. I wasn't taught to make clothes from patterns. So I took classes from Joann's so I could learn how to use patterns. So, taking classes from Joann's. So just reach out to your local fabric stores. There's many places to reach out if you're interested in sewing and designing, and just start making it. Just start doing it. And then also to marketing yourself, just start marketing yourself, and even like your first piece. That's very important. Like me, I was, like I said, I was self-conscious, and I didn't have that confidence. And so like a lot of my first pieces, I didn't take pictures of them, or, like I kind of, just put them like way over there or got rid of them. But I wish now that I would have saved them, and that I would have, cause I could show, this is my very first piece that started me out like humble beginnings. And then this is where I'm at now, so it's good to like start keeping track and monitoring your pieces, even if you don't want to share them with the world, but still keep them and take pictures of them. So you have that track of them, of where you first started and then where you're at, until you start feeling confident enough to share with the world. And that goes back to like my logo, like my shirt. It says being Indigenous is so beautiful. That's the name of my collection this year. And, like for me, I'm not where I have a collection, like every season, it's a different name of a different collection, like how, most designers do. For me, being Indigenous is so beautiful. That's my 2022 collection. It's not by season, it's by year. And what that entails is that everybody, an Indigenous person, they have their own song making, they have their own stories, they're language keepers, they're sewers, they're beaters, they're humor. Humor is a part of our culture, and it's just up to them to find their beautiful. To find their being Indigenous is beautiful. And so that's my biggest encouragement, try it out. I've been in many classes where there was sewers who just It was their first time sewing, and you wouldn't even think it was their first time sewing. They got it like that. They got the colors right, and they just, they had that in them. And that's for all Indigenous people. Like, you have that in you. You just need to find your beautiful. Find your being Indigenous is so beautiful.